Welcome to Hena's Epic Armageddon Battle Report. This is a 3000 point game of Imperial Guard Mayhem. The lists are NetEA lists, and there will be a URL in the description below. Then let's look at the lists. First, Steel Legion. There is 9 formations. First formation is Stormtrooper Platoon with Valkyries. Then we have a Sentinel Squadron, Tank Company with Hydra. Then we have Regimental HQ with Hydra. We have a Flak Battery, Super Heavy Tank Company with 3 Shadow Swords, Artillery Battery with Bombards, 2 Thunderbolts, and Artillery Battery with Manticores. And that's the army. Then on the Krieg. Krieg has 10 formations. First, we have Regimental HQ with 2 Gorgons. Then we have Infantry Company with 2 Gorgons and 3 Lemon Roses. Then we have a Grenadier Platoon with Gorgon. Then we have 2 Death Rider Companies. Then we have Flak Battery, Warhound, 2 Thunderbolts, a Death Strike Silo, and also a battery of Bombards. And that's the Krieg. In here we can see the overall deployment. The Sentinels, Flak Battery from Krieg, and Grenadiers are garrisoned forwards. And then let's look at the Steel Legion line. So we have Shadow Swords in this flank. Then in the forest we have Bombards and Flak Battery and Stormtroopers. Then next to forest we have Regimental HQ. And finally on the other flank we have the Tank Company and Manticores. Then switching over to Greeks, we have Death Riders here. Then we have the Grenadiers. Then we have another set of Death Riders and Bombards, and the Flak was there. Then we have Silo and the Infantry Company and Regimental HQ, as well as the Warhound. So first turn, Steel Legion wins the roll, and let's Krieg goes first. The Silo sustains and breaks the Bombards in the forest. Retaining the Thunderbolts, make ground attack, and they crack 1 Manticore. So this was actually one mistake that I made, that I lost my artillery before I could even use them. Then Steel Legion tries to activate the Thunderbolts and fails even with Supreme Commander. So Krieg and Regimental HQ marches to move away from the flank with the Shadow Swords. And Steel Legion decides to double the Tank Company forwards with the aim of getting at least some shots at the Death Riders in the center. So here we go. And then a couple of shots there, killing 2 units. Then from Krieg the Bombards sustain fire to the thick clump of tanks, destroying 1 and the Hydra as well. Then center, Steel Legion Regimental HQ doubles forwards. The Flak overwatches at them, but doesn't really manage to do anything, if I remember correctly. Then the Regimental HQ from Steel Legion fire at the Flak, and that 1 heavy AA was destroyed. Then from Grenadiers they decide to engage the Tank Company, and in here we get the first assault. So the Grenadiers jump out to get it within the range, but not quite too close. So here we shuffle them a little, and then the Tank Company countercharges forwards, though the countercharge isn't shown as the video quality for that particular part was really bad, so I decided not to include it. So that's the result. And yeah, the Grenadiers are kicked. The lone survivor is the Fearless Commissar unit. Then from Steel Legion, the Flak Battery doubles forwards just to redeploy themselves behind the hill. Not really firing anything. And Death Riders to march in the flank, taking up positions behind the building on the road. Then Sentinels double, and they aim to put the flak into the choke range to force them to move next turn, as the flak used to overwatch against the Supreme Regimental HQ. However, they also fire and manage to break the formation, so it falls back. The fallback, it seems, hadn't been done. Then Warhound, which moves and fires at the Regimental HQ as well. So here we go. And 2 units plus Chimera is destroyed in the fire. Then Stormtroopers, they double, also to reposition them for themselves for next turn, because they couldn't really reach anything. So they take up positions in the forest behind Flak and Regimental HQ. There we go. Then Death Riders 1 try to engage, but fail and hold and remove blast markers. Then the Shadow Swords decide to go at it. They can double and get into clear sight of Regimental HQ's Gorgons. Only thing was that one of them hit a tree and then had a critical, and boom, so goes the Shadow Sword. The 2 get to fire and manage to do 1 damage. There. So that was awesome idea, and not so awesome execution due to difficult terrain. So then Infantry Company, which doubles and aims to get within assault range of the Shadow Swords. And most of the infantry jump out. Not everybody, but most. There we go. So close up there. And then they fire at the Shadow Swords, making 1 damage. So here is the overall situation. Steel Legion are pushing forwards, and the Krieg are redeploying some of their forces after the initial push by Grenadiers failed. And then let's go to look at the specific points here. So there is the Shadow Swords and Infantry Company, broken bombards. The center currently held by Steel Legion, and the Sentinels forward, and here is the Krieg side. Bombards, Regimental HQ, Death Riders, and then there is the Tank Company, broken Manticores on the side, and the final Death Rider Company. And that's it for the turn 1. 10 on the turn 2. End base withdrawals. So Flak fails to rally and it moves behind the hill. There we go. So turn 2, Steel Legion wins initiative and decides to go first, and Shadow Swords try to sustain fire and fail even with Supreme Commander, get a blast marker and only 1 shoots, but it manages to destroy the Gorgon with some infantry inside. Then it's the Krieg, and Death Riders decide to engage, as the tanks have blast marker and Death Riders don't. And most of them then there's a bunch of them actually gets into close combat as well, so they can use their first strike to go first and reduce the firefight ability of the tanks. However, again the tanks just refuse to die, so we fight 2 rounds of combat, the first round and then the second round, and no casualties for tanks, and all but the Fearless Commissar have been killed. So the Commissar falls back behind a building there. Then it's Sentinels, which double. And the plan here is to get to create a possibility for crossfire for the tanks if they get to manage to activate next. And then they get also with the Zog to try to block other activations being so simple. So tank company tries to double and fails to activate and holds, and instead then destroys the Lone Creek Fearless Grenadier. So then it's the Creek and Regimental HQ doubles. There we go, and out come the infantry. Here we go. So they get to within range of the Steel Legion Regimental HQ in order to be in support fire position for the next activation that we will see. So there we go, and then the Warhound engages. Whoop. And he tries not to be quite so close that everybody would get to fire. But almost everybody will anyways with the countercharge. So here's the countercharge, and then the Steel Legion loses a whole bunch of infantry, one Chimera saves, and rest fall back. There we go, they fall back behind the hill. Then bombards try to activate, break, and break instead. So an infantry company tries to activate as well and breaks. Then Manticore's sustained fire hits 4 targets and kills only 1. Death Riders hold and try to engage and hold. Thunderbolts Thunderbolts from Steel Legion go in the Overwatch. Thunderbolts from Krieg fail activate to and hold. Then Flak Battery advances. So there's a bunch of failed activations from both sides. So the Flak Battery advances and guns the Warhound down. And then I make very silly mistake as I engage with my Stormtroopers. I just wanted to get an engage going, though I frankly should have shot. I was thinking that the Greek, since they have the infantry in front, I will get to kill a lot of them. But I kind of not realized the fact that, yeah, I will kill a lot of them, but they also pour out a huge amount of fire. So I should have just advanced and shot. But these are the mistakes you do. So there we go. And then comes time casualties. Now, well, more of the Greek infantry jump out from the Gorgons as well. But then comes the casualties, so I kill bunch of infantry, but I lose all of my Valkyries and 2 units. However, I do manage to win the combat, although I also break due to casualties. But the Greek Regimental HQ breaks and fallbacks, withdraws behind actually there we go, behind the forest, and the infantry goes inside the Gorgons. And that's overall situation at the end of turn 2. So Steel Legion managing to push in still partly from the center, though the Regimental HQ has broken and fallen back. So inside we still are staring at each other, and there is the 2 Thunderbolts and Overwatch, and some broken formations here on Steel Legion side, Flak still ahead, and Sentinels as well, and then a bunch of stuff from Krieg in Regimental HQ and tank company looking at each other to see what happens next. So end phase withdrawal, Krieg, the Commissar moves, then turn 3, and it's actually Krieg win the initiative, and the Regimental HQ then engages. So they move forwards to fight again with the so far invincible tank company, which has deflected 2 enemies. So here we go. Everybody out. And this time neither side manages to do any damage, so it goes to practical roll-off because there is more Krieg than tanks, but Krieg also have blast marker and tanks didn't, so they lost by 1. One tank is destroyed and the rest fall back. Then retaining Krieg Death Riders engage, and they very easily wipe the Sentinels out, which were now quite alone. There we go, and Sentinels are gone. Like so. Then Shadow Swords, they advance. They fail to rally, so they still have 3 blast markers, so 1 Shadow Sword is still suppressed. So they move there and shoot. There we go. Some damage on the second Gorgon and infantry. Retaining the Steel Legion's Manticore sustain fires and destroys 1 Bombard, breaking the formation. So they just kind of shuffle around behind the hill. Then Death strikes Silo, which sustain fires, and it cracks one of the flak battery Hydras, and the black battery is broken and it moves there. Stormtroopers in the center, they march, so they go up forwards to take up positions near the objective and in the hill, in the forest. And then infantry company decides to engage the Shadow Swords. But as so many of other engages, the engaging side really somehow manages to fumble the ball. And this goes really badly for them. Krieg. So, rest of the infantry out, but yeah, doesn't go for the Krieg. All the tanks are destroyed in the combat. There we go. And no damage to Shadow Swords, so all the shots just bounced off the Shadow Swords. Then Thunderbolts make a ground attack and they kill the single Commissar. And Krieg's Thunderbolts then intercept and drop both Steel Legion Thunderbolts. Nice. So that's the end of turn 3. And still the battle continues. In one flank, the Shadow Swords are holding by themselves, but the other flank is disintegrating as they can't keep up the assault. Since the formations refuse to rally, so Regimental HQ still broken, and the tank company also will fail to rally, so that makes Steel Legion's life hard. And the Death Corps is still holding on to their blitz. And that's it for the turn 3. So, end phase withdrawals. Krieg infantry doesn't rally and they just move to occupy the area near the blitz. There we go. And turn 4. Steel Legion, first activation, flak battery, advance. So it moves forwards to get within the range of the Death Riders and shoots at the Bombards, breaking them, killing one and break the other. Then retaining the Stormtroopers engage. And I guess I could have done this a little better by shooting at the Death Riders and getting the Bombard within support fire range, as they had 1 blast marker, so it would have been enough to give them 1 to break them. But I did it this way, as I was hoping that the Death Riders wouldn't hit much, as they are in a firefight. However, things again go badly for the attacker, as in so many other times, as I lose 2 units and Steel Legion, as the Krieg lose 2 units, but the Krieg wins the combat. So yeah, the Stormtroopers fall back to get out of the engage range of the Death Riders. Then Thunderbolt from Krieg make the ground attack and break the bombards. The Manticores tried to sustain fire and failed to activate and break themselves, even with Supreme Commander. So all Supreme Commander rerolls that I've used in the game failed. Awesome. So then it was the Death Riders, and they moved to take control of 2 objectives on their side. Then it's the Shadow Swords, and they march because I'm thinking that, okay, we're going to play next turn, so I'm going to start attacking the Blitz with them, but unfortunately I failed to take into account that the Regimental HQ can actually reach the Blitz. And that seals the deal for the Krieg. So it's 2-0 win for the Krieg with Blitz and defend the flag. And that's what it looks like in the end. Still broken Tank Company and Regimental HQ from Steel Legions, which kind of meant that I couldn't prevent the loss of Blitz. So, yeah, that's the game. And there we go. Krieg Regimental HQ taking the Blitz objective, my broken formations here and there, and Death Riders controlling 2 objectives on his side, and finally the Death Exile controlling the last one. And that's it. I hope you like the game. And the music was by Kevin MacLeod, and that's the software that I used. Thank you for watching. I'm Henna, and goodbye.